campus children certainly do enjoy, the hands-on type activities that they're involved in, but it's a chance for them to do some of their own things as opposed to what's happening in the school and in the curriculum. So
people waited for hours at the Cloquet Armory today, hoping to win a job with Fond du Lac's Black Bear Casino. Applicants try to be optimistic as they waited to apply for a variety of positions.
Well, it's a new job. It's got a chance you can get a job you can stay at. If it's new, you get in your foot in the door right away, you get a chance to stay there. And there's some interesting jobs up here.
There are 500 new positions offered by the new casino, including security, dealers, housekeeping, repair technicians, and parking attendants. The latest unemployment figures show 7.5% of Carleton County's workers without jobs. If every position at the new casino was filled by a Carleton County resident, it would cut that unemployment rate in half and have over $1 million impact on the county.
So the payroll itself, about $1 million a month, will be the economic impact specific to payroll. That doesn't even include the services, the purchases, or anything else.
The new jobs will also make the Fond du Lac Band the second largest employer in Carleton County. Sonny Peacock says that means one thing to him.
So we'll still try harder. Okay? We want to be first.
Applications will be taken over the next 2 days. Hiring is expected to begin in May. The casino plans to open its doors in mid-June with a grand opening on the 4th of July. In Cloquet, Dave Jench, News 6.
To run for re-election in '94. I'm sure that many people.
Good new freshmen who are really excited.
You know, these polls dropped in outside of election years don't have the same kind of significance that they do when you're getting close to an election.
That has been accomplished is that in the we've lived and farmed there. I should introduce myself a little better. We're having a really good year. For one thing,
we need to teach children, students, to learn that problem-solving skill of working on a team and being a part of a team and learning how to think creatively with all the different challenges they're faced with in today's world.
It's been over a year since Earl Nett and Steve Marino erected a cross in a hayfield near Kettle River and printed pamphlets saying the Virgin Mary told them to build a chapel. The Catholic Church denounced the messages, and Nett promised to end the quest to build the chapel, but he told local residents to be prepared. Now, he says, a miracle is on the way.
He brought in a letter yesterday and put it on a bulletin board that said that on Easter Sunday at 3 p.m. that the Virgin Mary was going to come.
No one was at the farm field today, and Nett could not be reached for comment. But as recently as last month, the Catholic Church restated its opposition to Nett's claims. Meanwhile, Kettle River residents are expecting last summer's crowds to reappear in the small community and say Nett will likely continue to insist the Virgin Mary told him to build a church.
I don't think it's going to stop until he gets his church built, because he's determined to get his church built.
The Catholic Church has dismissed this display and does not endorse the building of a chapel, but Earl Nett plans to have a miracle here on Easter Sunday, whether the church wants it or not. Near Kettle River, Derek Hines, News 6.
Mark is probably going to be on Thursday. That's what they vote, I think, Monday to Thursday. Yes. Because of the obvious, just blatant, shall we say, abuse that the representatives and the senators have taken in their stance on this gay rights bill.
She's the first of the 1,000-footers that was built, constructed in 1972. She's been in service now for over 20 years. She just got done loading iron ore at the Burlington Northern Docks and is departing for Burns Harbor.
This was the symbol of America to the immigrant people who came here. It was the promise of education.
It's a promise that's getting harder and harder to keep. Back in the early 1900s, when Hibbing High School was built, no expense was spared, from chandeliers to a lush auditorium. But that's not the case today. Iron Range schools are struggling to balance budgets and still meet the needs of students.
The money crunch is growing steadily, and it's growing steadily because of the tremendous demands that are being put on by today's world on our students.
So I think Hibbing's about $1 million in the hole. Chisholm's pretty close to that. Nashwauk-Keewatin is just barely surviving, I think. So there's things are going to happen, I think, in the next few years to change the scene of education on the range.
Alan Zidane, a State Board of Education member, says with declining school enrollments and state funds, the future will more than likely focus on consolidation. Several school districts on the range have already combined. But with the intense athletic rivalry between schools, the idea of consolidation is not an easy one to swallow.
I think here in Hibbing, the community is mostly the school. I don't know, from the kids' point of view, mostly all the activities that we do and everything that we're involved in is brought back from the school.
But given the current economic situation, further consolidation on the range is a very real possibility. In Hibbing, Amy Rutledge, News 6.
Spear expects the House will not accept the Senate version, and a conference committee will have to be named to resolve the differences.
Patrons at Mr. D's bar saw smoke pouring out of vents from the basement shortly before 7 o'clock last night. Firefighters struggled to reach the basement, which had no sprinkler system, and within 2 hours the roaring fire consumed both the bar and attached restaurant and 3 apartments above. The bar was already engulfed when Dwayne Kerway, owner of Mr. D's, arrived on the scene.
Everybody's on the bar. Everybody's safe, okay?
Today, all that remains are the walls and mounds of charred debris. Nearby, the West Duluth News and the Salvation Army office survived with only smoke and water damage. Inspecting the damage by daylight, firefighters said easier access to the basement would have helped.
If you can't get to the seat of the fire, it's going to continue to build. And early on, they got more of in a defensive mode, just trying to save the Wesleyan News and the Salvation Army shop next door.
Firefighters had their hands full keeping nearby buildings from catching fire, so it didn't take long for the restaurant and bar to be completely destroyed. Steve and Debbie Nygaard had been in business just 2 weeks at their sandwich shop. They came to sift through the rubble this morning.
Hard to believe. It's just everything you work for, and you're trying to improve yourself, and it's all just goes up in one big puff of smoke.
But the Nygaards aren't sure they'll rebuild. The entire building was owned by Dwayne Turway. Meanwhile, the insurance agents are adding up the cost, and fire inspectors are searching for the cause of the fire.
There's always something going on in business, but this is probably the worst we'll probably, hopefully, ever see again.
In Duluth, Derek Hines, News 6.
Other states froze wages, and I think we can forego it for 1 year. That's not asking too much of anybody. And bear in mind, the other option is we can lay off about 10,000 people, and I think that would be cruel.
It's the same old stuff that they had 3 years ago. They've narrowed it down to what they call, what looks like the needle in this haystack that I've talked about, and I expect to be able to defend that, and I expect to win. But I also expect to be able to be just as effective in the United States Senate as I always have been.
St. Louis County Jail Administrator Dave Proctor says in all his years at the holding facility, he's never seen anything like this.
To the best of my knowledge, no. I've been in the jail 15 years, and I don't recall anything like this.
It's like something out of a dime store novel. No digging for months with a spoon, no daring leaps over barbed wire at twilight. 19-year-old Craig Carl Anderson just walked out of the St. Louis County Jail. Anderson was being held on charges of criminal sexual conduct in the third degree. Another suspect in Anderson's cell block was in the process of being released from the jail Saturday afternoon. Authorities say Anderson pretended to be the man scheduled for release and was set free. By the time jailers realized their mistake, it was too late.
He was released when we should have released another inmate, and he was released in his place. And that should never have happened. And we will follow up definitely tomorrow with our investigation.
Proctor says there are a number of safety precautions to prevent that kind of release from happening, but somehow the process broke down.
We have systems, we have policies and procedures in place, photo identities in place, so that this type of thing can't happen, and yet it did.
Anderson, who had spent time in the county jail before, is not considered dangerous, but his alleged victim, a 14-year-old girl, had been notified that Anderson was at large. A full-scale Sheriff's Department investigation is underway to determine why something that couldn't happen at the county jail did. In Duluth, Derek Hines, News 6.
Enjoy your centennial. That is a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you very much.
As we embark upon our second century,
My colleagues and I will continue to pursue a vision of unimpeded strength and momentum, characterized by creative teaching and learning and excellence in all of our educational services. Our clear and decisive objective is the well-being and the growth of this region, the state, and indeed society.
We've all heard the lament that it seems almost everything causes cancer, but what we don't hear about as much is what can prevent cancer. New research suggests these fruits and vegetables probably play the biggest role of anything in disease prevention.
Diet is a major component in the reduction of certain of our real chronic diseases, and I don't think the public is really aware of just how important it is.
The University of Minnesota has been conducting research to help determine the role of fruits and vegetables in our diet. Dr. Marla Reichs has been studying the impact of certain components of those foods when separated from the whole fruit or vegetable. Her research so far has led her to believe that pulling out certain parts of foods and bottling it is just not as valuable as eating the whole thing.
It may be more important for people just to eat more fruits and vegetables rather than thinking, I better go out and buy a supplement or a pill that contains a compound that you isolate from broccoli.
A lot has been said recently about the value of certain nutrients in some kinds of foods like garlic, cabbage, and soybeans. Dr. Reichs cautions against using these components as surefire disease preventers, warning not enough is known about them and that serious medical problems can occur if these foods are eaten in large quantities. The U of M research is ongoing, but the one thing the scientists can advise right now with complete assurity is that eating fresh fruits and vegetables is even more important to our health than we thought before.
Researchers don't want to give the impression that if you eat right, you'll live forever. But they do want to stress that eating healthy foods will help you live longer and help you avoid disease. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
I just love to spend some time with my kids, my grandchildren. I have 3 now. One is going to be 4, another one's 6 months old tomorrow. And like Grandpa and Grandma said, they said, Larry, you've got to come home. Your kids need you. And that's what I want to do. I just want to just be free.
We met with employees months later, and they were telling us they were literally
success. And again, I would urge you to give very careful consideration, and I would urge you not to sell the facility. I would urge you to stay with us. We are willing to stay and work with you, not just for the next 2 years, but for the prolonged future.